From Ashland, Oregon, home of William Shakespeare and progressive politics, and broadcasting live from the Southern Oregon University Digital Media Center and the RVTV studio, it's the So Not So Late Night Glamour Dave show, and recorded before a non-existent studio audience with a skeletal crew of certified public access producers. You can expect to see tonight's guests, whoever they may be, the Glamour Dave Comedy Players, and the Rogue Valley Public Access Orchestra. Now, here's your host, David Glamour Dave Nienow.
Hey! Hey! Hey there, Rogue Valley. Welcome to the first episode of the new season of 2020 episodes of the So Not So Late Night Glamour Dave show. I'm your host, David Glamour Dave Nienow, and we are once again starting a season of lowbrow public access comedy here at RVTV. And so tonight I have as my guest sidekick the wonderfully beautiful Lia Dugal, wonderful friend of mine. So thank you, Lia, for being guest sidekick. And then my first guest this evening is Carole T. She is a local author of Northwest-themed, Western-themed mysteries. And Carole was actually on the show a while back, I think around sometime in September. And she's got a couple new books out. So we are going to talk to Carole about her latest books and her work as a writer. And then I have as musical guest tonight, Jon Galfano. So Jon is going to be performing a couple of songs this evening, and he is vying for that all-important role of the RVTV Public Access Orchestra. So we'll see if Jon is up to the task of filling that role. So that's it. So let's get the show going. So
yeah. Riding cowboy.
Yeah.
Hey, let's do this. Yeah.
Well,
I don't have a hat.
Oh.
well, Lia, thank you once again for coming in and being my guest sidekick.
Of course, always, David.
Yeah. And Carole,
Love to
thank you
help.
once again for coming on to the show, and we'll talk about your latest books.
It's always a pleasure. We
Yeah.
talk about a lot of other things too.
That's right, yeah. Well, we had fun the last time you were on.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I understand you've got a couple of new books just recently been published. So,
Oh, you're right.
so one I understand is another addition to your Pepper Cane mystery series, correct?
Good memory. Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
This is the amateur sleuth that grew up in the Rogue Valley and riding horses and in her friends and family, but she went off to Seattle for a while and worked for a newspaper there for 40 years, or not 40, I guess. I made my heroine younger,
Yeah.
smarter, prettier, thinner,
Oh, wow. Well,
and
you're beautiful. So.
braver than I. But anyway, I worked for Seattle newspapers, right, for 32 years at Seattle Times, in fact. So you write what you know.
Yep.
That's right.
Thought,
Yep,
and a
truth.
background for a reporter, you know, they're nosy, they're pushy, they know police procedures, so they're kind of a natural to be an amateur sleuth, I thought.
Yeah.
And so
Sounds really
it's set in
interesting.
modern times. She comes home to the Rogue Valley, and her main thing is to show horses, to sell Western tack and clothing, and she's something of a fashion plate in the Western style, but the modern West was all modern. This is not old West stuff. This is, I call them New West mysteries with a kick.
Yeah.
And sometimes a kiss. So, gotta have that kiss,
All
right?
right.
You gotta
Yeah.
have the romance, right? You gotta
Right,
have
so yeah, she comes back
intrigue.
to the valley. She's in her mid-50s, so that I figure that's kind of a good age. She had taking care of her aging parents and her adult kids who are not quite settled, so I think a lot of people can relate to that. And she has this mysterious Lakota tribal police boyfriend that comes in and out, visits, and goes back to the Standing Rock res. He has kids in Seattle. I have lots of opportunities to travel around with these mysteries. One book is set in Seattle. It's kind of an homage to that beautiful city where I lived and worked. But I'm going to show you the new book
Yeah,
first
let's see the new
now,
book, so.
Right? So here's the brand new Pepper Cane #5.
And is her name Pepper Kane, the
Yes.
main character? Okay,
Right,
cool.
and it's kind of a riff. I don't know if you remember the movie Citizen Kane, Orson Welles. And I was looking for a name of like a newspaper person, but somebody was Sass. So,
Yeah.
so I chose Pepper. And Shadow on the River. We have here, she is opening a boutique guest ranch on the Applegate River. Just a little small 6 tiny house cabins made out to look kind of like log cabins or around a pond, but they have a view of the Applegate. And she and her best friend, Tulip Clemens, who's she's kind of a false Southern belle. She visited there once for 3 months, Charleston, and she loved the accent and the ways so much that she took them for her own. And so this best friend is kind of a comic relief. She's a cowgirl poet, and she never met a man she didn't like, or a cosmetic enhancement for that. So you see where I'm going. It's kind of a humorous approach, and yet these gals go line dancing, and they're trying to keep their guests entertained the first week of the opening of this beautiful little ranch. It's an annex to her parents' property, her aging parents in their 80s, and her dad has some health dementia issues in and out. So there's always that little theme that she's having to deal with, as well as the mystery of the hot new wrangler, a horse whisperer, very much resembling a Brazilian bull rider, kind of exotic, you know. And he's got all the ladies on the ranch aflutter, and maybe some of the men too. So that's how it is. You know, it's just a modern
times.
just a thing. And so they go for trail rides. They pan for gold, and they go up on $8 Mountain. $8 Mountain is just near Selma, and anyway, in between all these adventures, that wrangler winds up in a stall with not alive, and it's not pretty. Well, we don't show the actual acts of violence. This is still classified as a cozy mystery, I guess you could say, because you don't show the violence. You don't show the grittier sides. So anyway, she and her friend have to figure out, you know, who, maybe one of the guests killed, or maybe it's that prospector that was giving the gold mining demonstration. And so there's a whole cast of characters that I tried to make really complete in themselves and have maybe a reason for killing, but so it's very confusing to her and upsetting. And luckily her boyfriend, the Lakota tribal policeman, comes visiting. He's been looking for a girl that he suspects is trafficked anyway in the area. So this all weaves together into, I scared myself writing this book. It was so complex, you know, and you always are writing as a mystery writer doing, well, what can I throw at my hero next to make it even harder? And now her life is on the line. She's been threatened and so forth. So she has to keep the ranch, and people are starting to leave. This first week, and then there's this handsome sheriff that comes in investigating things. So that makes a little complication for the romantic relationship she has with Sonny Chief, her Lakota boyfriend. By the way, he's 6'6". He is just a fabulous basketball player in college. He was, but now he's the tribal policeman that helps Lakota people both anywhere he's needed with police departments in Washington State and Oregon or back on his reservation. So there's his story, their story together, and then the solving of the mystery. And I think it's as the fifth book, it's probably the most complex and interesting, and with more people. As I say, I got myself in trouble, kept introducing these characters and with motives and so forth. And but when on the end, I was very happy with it, really satisfied with it.
So where can people purchase the books?
No, thank you. Well, on Bloomsbury Books in Ashland has all of them. And this came out in, I think it was November. This one, right before that, last year I had, I was on the show before.
Yeah, that's right.
I had number 4, Night Rides. And
we talked
so
about that then.
I think Barnes and Noble has them,
Ooh,
Oregon
nice.
Books and Grants
Ooh, yeah,
Pass,
yeah, yeah.
right? And also the online sites,
Nice.
Amazon,
Right.
Barnes and Noble, Kobe, iTunes, all of those.
Oh,
They're
so do you have an
ebook
audio-
also.
audio-
Not
audiobook?
an audio.
But you have
Did I
ebook.
say audio?
No, no. You just said on iTunes.
Yeah, the ebook, right.
ebook,
That's, I
okay.
think those are like under $5. So,
Nice.
but this is a big, good, heavy trade paperback and
Yeah,
really
so
good quality,
How
big
long
printing.
was involved in kind of developing the story and, getting that complexity together? And, I mean, what's that process like for you?
Well, the process is, luckily with a series, the first one in the series is called Saddle Tramps,
Yeah.
and it's more lighthearted and simpler and just a straightforward mystery with a little romance. And that's where I introduced all these characters and most of the settings, her home and so forth. She owned an acreage in Gold Hill, for example. So once you write that, then you have your characters, you have more or less your setting, and the likelihood, given their personalities, for developing different types of solving mysteries. So I had the characters, and I thought, well, let's play on this friendship between the two women that are opening the guest ranch too. So I thought, let's give it some depth and have something happen where they each feel betrayed in a way by the other, or the friendship is cracked in some way,
challenged.
And so I get the idea and I start writing it, and I write a scene or two, and then I go, oh no, what have I done now? Here's something else, and I would keep adding to that. But so the process is, I write by the seat of my pants or my skirt or whatever.
Yeah.
And I am a bona fide horsewoman, as you know, though,
That's right,
by
yeah.
the way, and
Nice.
have won the belt buckles from the quarter horse and paint horse circuits. This was 8-10 years ago. So I have a horse now that's a retired show horse, but so he makes appearances in here under a different name to protect his identity, right? But so the process is really scattered, and I write every day or try to a couple hours every morning, and just go ahead read what I wrote the day before, go ahead, have that one new scene, and then see sometimes it goes off on its own, it just goes where it wants because the characters are so strong. Sometimes you try to make them do something and they won't do that. And then so you have to rein back and let's go in another direction. But anytime you add one thing on, a complication, you have to go back through the manuscript and find any references to that person or that complication, lay in some subtle hints, so people won't really figure it out. And so the process it's organic. It just grows and it just goes where it wants quite a bit, and then I have to be the gardener and trim it and prune it to a pleasant shape.
Are you your own publisher then as well? Do you
No,
self-publish?
these are traditionally published. I found a small press in North Carolina that takes unagented submissions of ideas for books, and they pride themselves on publishing emerging authors. That's the term, people who maybe have published their own or aren't yet published, and they'll take a chance on them and go ahead. So
Well, that's really cool to find that because because the book publishing market traditionally, in when I've investigated in the past, I mean, it's a really tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough nut to crack, to get in there in the traditional publishing method market.
It really is. It's very discouraging. I was discouraged for a long time because I didn't have the 400 rejection slips that J.K. Rowling of Harry Potter fame had before she got published. But she said she wanted more than anything else to be a writer and was just determined no matter what. But there are sites where there's one called, I think it's publishersandagents.com, something like that. And you can go down, look at all these names, the types of works they're looking for, and what they've published, and whether or not you need an agent. And usually some publishers will say no agent needed. Well, my writers group one of the gals, Sharon Dean in that group, had found this publisher, and she said, you should send that query letter to him. And,
It's all in
and I did, and
word
I
of
got a
mouth.
contract
Yeah.
about a month later.
Nice.
So that was good. So you want someone else to publish,
Yeah, that's right.
pay
You
for
want
the
them to do the
publishing.
work, right?
Although
Yeah.
Kindle Direct, Amazon
Yeah,
and
I've done that.
and
Yeah,
is
so
it Ingram Spark? There's ways that you can self-publish, and I guess there's a process where you have to learn all the technology and formatting,
For a friend
but
of mine, I helped him.
You can do that.
I used CreateSpace, which is from Amazon,
Exactly.
to publish my photography portfolio books.
Oh, uh-huh.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And I try to find time to actually try to do the online marketing. I've never really been successful at it because I never had
It's the
time to focus
hardest
on that,
part,
right?
almost.
It's extremely hard.
It
But I
is.
do manage to average 2 to 3 book sales a month.
Nice.
Oh,
And,
okay.
which gets me like, a royalty check, like, $5, $6,
Right,
kind of a thing.
right.
But yes, God, Mike.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Glamour Dave Wheel Mystery.
Oh, wow, okay.
The-
Well,
The what?
the Glamour Dave Wheel of Mystery, and it's right there behind you.
Okay.
And so what you do here, Carol, is you say stop, and the wheel will stop, and we'll decide what happens next. So just whenever you're ready.
Stop.
Okay, so prize.
Ooh.
Okay,
Prize.
so I think this is the first time we've landed on prize. So what do we do about the prize, God, Mike?
We spin again, Dave.
Ah, okay,
Oh,
all
You have
right.
to earn the prize,
Getting
Dave.
dizzy.
Okay, all right. So let's spin it again.
What if she gets
Stop.
the prize again?
Stop.
She got prize again.
I'm entering the
now?
lottery. I'm buying a ticket.
Okay.
right
You
now.
have to say,
Yeah.
Stop.
Oh, so we have to have an awkward moment. So it's like, it's like what could be
Dun,
happening.
dun, dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun,
this is,
dun.
and we'll just kind of see how awkward we can get for a period of time here.
You don't need any help from me.
No, I'm pretty able to kind of create awkward moments all on my own.
What color are the socks under my boots?
Oh,
That's
no,
my question.
No, I would say blue. That'd be my guess.
Why don't we just skip to the Crater Lake thing?
this was awkward
That's
enough.
that's the
He was that's how awkward it was. It made God awkward. It's funny that God says
That would
it's
yeah.
problem
That would
to
be
me.
the
I'm
that would
awkward
involve the
Not
trivia
often
question.
You can make God up.
Let's
It's
see.
not often
Feel
that you
awkward.
can make God feel
No,
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And all right, so let's see what have I got here. More
We
stupid
win.
jokes. Oh, here's the trivia questions. So I got 4 categories of trivia questions for tonight's show. So I've got Lord of the Rings, the Rolling Stones, MASH, the TV series, and the Beatles, the music group.
Oh, so who gets to answer? Is
You
it
do.
me?
Yeah, this is you. So you get to pick the category, and then we will see what the trivia question
What were the
is.
last two?
The Beatles and Lord of the Rings, MASH TV series, and the Rolling Stones.
Oh, I think MASH TV.
Okay,
I
all right.
Being of a certain age.
Should I give her the hint, or should I just let her be surprised? You've done this before, haven't you?
Yeah, so this is,
Don't listen to the first part.
all right, let's see here. Okay, so the following question comes to us via Gmail from the show's ancestral home of the Nienow clan
Is it Mapleton?
in Mapleton, Minnesota.
I got it. I win.
Yeah.
How much did I
Go
win?
Vikings.
Yeah,
But
that's
not
right.
too far
Yeah.
because I'm a Seahawk fan.
So, Crater Lake is the 5th oldest national park in the United States and the only national park in Oregon. The lake is 1,949 feet deep at its deepest point, making Crater Lake the deepest lake in the United States and the 9th deepest in the world. Your trivia question from the category of MASH TV show is, what is the number of the MASH unit seen on the TV show?
Like when you come into the like.
Starts with a 4,
That's right.
Okay, it's 4.
0.
Oh, it's 0.
they-
4 0. I'm getting a vibe.
It's like when they above when they're flying in.
7.
Yeah, that's one of the numbers.
7.
One more to go, and we could get a correct
Another
answer.
7.
Yeah, that's right. The 4077 is
That's the number of the unit?
that's the
unit.
name.
Oh,
That's the number of the mash unit.
4,000.
Yeah, that's right. And
4077.
as a result of correctly answering the trivia question,
She's getting.
In this
is
case-
the first time I've seen a winner.
yeah,
Of this.
in this case you get the
Is it
you
the
get the
only time?
prize separate from the
only time I've seen
typical
one.
prize of the trivia question, because normally the normal trivia question you win a baggie of 100 pennies. Okay.
Oh, right.
So
Rich.
that's like the small cash prize. However,
Do you have to report that to the IRS?
this is a different, well, maybe. In this case, the prize that's associated with the Glamour Dave Wheel of Mystery is different.
Ooh, the Glamour Dave. Woo.
So we're,
This is an awkward moment.
yeah, well, this show specializes in awkward moments.
Well, you know,
Look at the host.
So this
what's
is,
the opposite of
Look
an
at the-
awkward moment?
so,
Comfortable?
Confident?
What's her comfortable?
yeah, so this is your Glamour Dave Wheel of Mystery prize. So you can open that and see what that is.
Ooh. You should put it on your head and do
Mysterious
the
white
Carson-
powder.
No,
Do the
no, we
Johnny
don't go that
Carson
way.
There's a president. I saw a president.
Ooh. Is it a George Washington or a Ben Franklin?
Sweet.
Is
Yes.
it a Lincoln?
So pull it out, show it to the audience. A $5 bill.
Lincoln!
That's right.
Lincoln, go
Yeah.
Abe!
All right.
So it's yeah.
How many
so
pennies is that?
happens to be the largest cash prize ever awarded on the So Not So Late Night Glamour Dave show.
How come the lines are backwards?
Hey, you
Oh,
want
I
to see
got
something?
ink
Can
on my
can I show you something? Can I show you something?
Yes, God, Mike.
It's time for some Music Day.
Ah, yeah. This would be a great time for our
Sweet.
musical guest to perform. Mr. Jon
Trying
Galfano
to
is
make
musical
boobs
guest for
do.
the evening,
Oh, it's
and
not
he is
right
applying for the role of the RVTV Public Access Orchestra. So, John, do you think you're up to applying for this role?
Well, Dave, you know what? With all these prizes floating around and awkward silence, and I'm really into this, man.
All righty.
And now, folks, $5 bills floating through the studio here. I'm telling you, this is getting exciting.
Yeah.
Well,
You need a
we
tip
strive
jar,
for
you
that.
need a tip jar.
Yes, where's my tip jar? I'll put it on. Hey, David, thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm glad to have you on, John.
Yeah, you betcha. So I was at Belfiore last night, and tonight I'm at RVTV. How about that?
Yes.
How cool. Yeah, I love it over there
Living
very
the
much.
life.
Living the life.
So anyway, I want to do like a song I had on my very first album, 1982. Does anybody remember 1982?
Vaguely.
A little bit.
It was
Vaguely.
2 years before 1984 and George Orwell, you know, all that kind of whatever. But anyway, and this is a little ballad of mine. We do original material here, but I like to do Beatles and Rolling Stones. I thought, sure, you were going to take the Rolling
I know,
Stones.
I had a thought
Holy
there.
schmokeroolies and
Yeah.
Beatles, I would have been in heaven.
You
But
would have been
we're
like
doing
yelling
original
out
stuff
the
here.
answers.
So let me plink a bit on the guitar and sing to you here. This is one of the early songs that I wrote called More and More from my first album, what was called Appearance. And believe it or not, I got a Facebook message from some people in Minneapolis, Minnesota, before Christmas, about October, and said, John, we want to get another copy of your album from 1982 called Appearance. I'm like, hello, thank you, I'm still alive. They're like, where are you? I said, I'm in Oregon. And then they went, Oregon, Wisconsin? Oh, no. Oregon. The real thing, the real deal, which I'm so happy to be living here. So here's the song. This is called More and More. I wake up with the morning sun and know you are my chosen one. Good morning. And before I turn out that light, the last thing I do is kiss you goodnight. Good night, my love. I'm so happy you're at my door. I don't know how I've ever got by before without you. I'm like a child. I want you so much more and more. More and more. You fill my days with clouds of gold. I know my life will never grow old when I'm in your arms. Well, I want to make love to you day and night. We don't care if the world goes on by. Well, that's all right. I feel so lucky you were at my door. I don't know how I ever got by before without you. I'm like a child, and I want you so much more and more. More and more. Well, now, happiness she'll always reign. I know I'll never feel any pain while I'm in your arms. Well, I want to make love to you day and night. We don't care if the world goes on by. That's all right. Yeah. Ooh, I feel so lucky you were at my door. I don't know how I've ever got by before without you. I'm like a child, just like a child. I'm like a child, and I want you so much more and more.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well done, Jon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be back here at Lord Valley in about 3 or 4 minutes. So come on back.